GM meetings going on now in Scottsdale. New baseball ops head Craig Breslow has spoken out there as well. So we have a couple thoughts for you, Mazz. What do we got?
Okay, so just with this comment in particular, Craig Breslow spoke with the media for about 20 minutes apparently on his first day out at the GM meetings and made almost an identical comment to the one we just played from Alex Cora that, as you pointed out, he said late in the season. So Breslow said, quote, "I think it's important not to lose sight that the goal of any organization is to win major league games. It's not to have the greatest farm system. It's not to have the most prospect depth. It's to win games." Okay, end quote. Isn't that just a little too perfect? Doesn't that just perfectly jibe with what Cora said?
Mm-hmm.
So the Red Sox are clearly on this mission, and I think this has been apparent since they introduced Breslow, but they are clearly on this mission to make it clear that they're now on the same page, that the head of baseball operations and the manager are on the same page. We have the same goal. We're in sync. We move forward. We fix the problem. That's what they want to let you know, which is fine. I don't expect them to say the opposite in these pressers. The question is whether or not you believe it and ultimately what it's going to lead to. Because I will say it's great that Breslow is saying it, but what are they going to do? And this now gets to the personnel on the field. So Breslow was asked about the situation at second base. Now, I think there were 3 or 4 clear, absolutely crystal clear needs on this team, Mike, that everyone would agree on. It's rare it happens this way, but the 3 or 4 are so obvious. Starting pitching, defense, particularly up the middle, a right-handed bat for the middle of the lineup. I would say those are the big ones. And when I say defense up the middle, center field and second base, I would split those into 2 different things. So that's why I say 3 or 4. Second base is a major area of need. Major. Here's what Breslow says about second base. We can attack that in a number of different ways. We're kind of comfortable with the 4 we have. We've got some right-handed depth, some left-handed depth. But also, like everywhere else, we're going to be open-minded about the possibilities of meaningfully upgrading that position. Now, I love the phrase meaningfully upgrading because it leaves open the possibility that if the move's not big enough, you're not going to do it. But are the Red Sox seriously going to go into the season with, quote-unquote, the 4 guys we have, all of whom suck?
So you pointed that out in the email, and that, because I read Peter Abraham this morning in the Globe about his conversation with Breslow out in Scottsdale, and I immediately thought of the line that I read, because when I read this, I went, uh-oh. So Abraham was talking about the 20-minute talk. So in a 20-minute chat with a small group of reporters from Boston, and if that was any indication, Breslow won't dither. He was quick and concise with his answers, readily acknowledging roster needs and how the organization must improve in certain areas. Among them, how infield defense is coached. How the organization must improve it in certain areas. Among them, how infield defense is coached.
Yeah, no, not how it's played, how it's coached.
Well, I went, uh-oh. That means it means they're not going to make any personnel moves. They're going to change how they drill in Fort Myers? What do you mean how it's coached? So, I read that as what you just said.
Yeah, scary.
They're not going to improve second base. They're going to try and coach it differently.
Yeah, now again, and he made a comment like this at his presser last week, too, if you remember, about the way their instruction is or the player development.
Well, what do they do? Alex Cora is a career middle utility guy. He doesn't know how to coach second base. So now, you want to talk about a Breslow Cora thing, this nerd's going to come in and say you're coaching second base wrong? Cora was technically a second baseman, I think, right?
He's second middle infielder, second base and shortstop. He could play third, too, actually. He could play pretty much anywhere. Yeah.
He doesn't know how to coach second base?
No, of course he does. And in fact, and this all makes sense now because they fired, if you remember, they fired the pitching coach, Dave Bush. They fired him 3 weeks ago, whatever it was. They also fired the third base coach, Carlos Fablis, who's the infield instructor. So my guess is they already knew they were going down this road, and they got rid of those guys ahead of time.
Well, here's the idea. Don't go out and get good players. Just change the coaching because we're not coaching second base right, even though our manager is a career utility infielder.
This is what should scare you because they said a similar thing about pitching, too. That, they're going to – the development part of these young players is a critical thing, which I don't dispute. But if that's how they're trying to fill their holes, then they're not going to be much better next year.
Also tells you they're not spending.
Now, if you want to tell me that they're going to skimp at a spot or 2, because they can't buy everything at once.
Second base is a place to do it.
I would agree. Like, I would say, okay, I get it. They traded for Emmanuel Valdez in that Christian Vasquez trade a couple of years ago, 2 trading deadlines ago. They think Valdez can hit, which he has shown some ability to do, but his defense is a train wreck. So we got to get this kid up to an acceptable level. And, we're going to go that route because we're going to go in heavy on pitching and we're going to make a trade for a center fielder. Fine. Can't have everything if that's the way it's going to go. I hate to sound like Mike Giardi talking about the crafts as it pertains to Belichick. I need to see it. I need to see it. I need to see them spend on the pitching. I need to see them make the trade for the center fielder. I need to see it before I start believing that they're going to, be able to patch it together at second base.
But, that's got to be scary, concerning if you're a Red Sox fan. The major changes coming, the big upgrades we're going to make, how we coach the infield. Yikes.
Yeah, because it's got nothing to do with the players.
How you coach the infield. How could it be much different from one team to the next?
It can't. It's baseball.
Right. There's nothing. There's no new, analytic forward thinking, especially now.
Try coaching range and hands.
You can't, right? Hand-eye coordination, quickness, speed, arm strength. What is it? Technique? Baseball's been around for 180 years. What is there a new technique that I'm missing?
No.
In the infield?
They've rephrased it, how they say it. They've used different terminology, but it's the same crap.
Get down on 2 hands on it.
Yes. Yeah, right? It's the Venus flytrap thing that we got to teach Jalen Rager.
Yeah, it's the hungry hippo.
Yeah, exactly right. It's that sort of thing.
And get low and get behind it.
So Jimmy has already alluded to this. He thinks Dustin Pedroia is going to be added to the coaching staff.
Oh, and that's just code for that thing?
I know, and I bet you it's right.
Yeah, maybe.
Because Pedroia had a couple little nuances to his. He was always in motion at the time the pitch was thrown. He used to kind of jump, so he was.
Sure.
So I bet you'll see Emmanuel Valdez jumping right before the pitch.
The Pedroia hop.
Yep, something like that.
Before he boots the thing into the first base dugout.
Correct, yes.
He'll do a little jump hop before.
Yeah, in the case of Valdez, if he does field it, he'll chuck it into the seats.
Right. Before he hits the mascot with his throw, he'll do a little jump. Jump at the pitch.
For a team like Cora is at his core, like he was a utility infielder. He's a fundamental guy. Okay, Cora is at his core. That's what he is. And for a manager who believes that, if you watch the World Series, boy, Texas turned some double plays, especially one in game 3. That was mint in the 8th inning with Seager and Semien, who they paid $500 million for.
Oh, it wasn't the coach. It wasn't the coaching on that.
No, it was the players. I'm pretty sure. It was the players.
Wasn't some new technique that they.
No, and the third baseman made a good play in that game. They really played some great defense in that game. If the Red Sox think they're going to get there by coaching, they're going to suck again.